Hi everyone, so today for math we are going to be finishing up 8-1, so please make sure to be on page 275 and to have a pencil ready. So yesterday we discussed points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles. Today we're going to continue to discuss angles. So our key vocabulary terms, we have acute angle, right angle, and obtuse angle. So we know that angles can be many different sizes. Here we can see an acute angle, here we have a right angle, and here we have an obtuse angle. So if we look here, this first group of angles, we can see that all of the angles are small angles. They're all pretty little. So here, so how are all of these acute angles alike? We know that an angle is made up of two rays that share a common endpoint. So here we have one ray, we have another ray, and then here's the common endpoint. Here again we have the two rays and then the common endpoint. And this endpoint is called the vertex. So it's where the two rays meet, which we discussed yesterday. So how are all of these angles alike? They're all alike because each angle is made up of two rays that share a common endpoint. So for number 5, we can write each angle is made up of two rays that share a common endpoint. So for number 6, how is an acute angle different from a right angle? So we know that a right angle looks like this. We know that this is a right angle. And an acute angle, we know, is smaller than a right angle. So this could be an acute angle, or this could be an acute angle. This could be an acute angle. So it's just any angle that is smaller than this right angle. So like here, if this was going straight up like that, then that would be a right angle. But since it's smaller, it's only extending up to here, we know that it's an acute angle. So for number 6, we know that each acute angle is smaller than a right angle. So each acute angle is smaller than a right angle. So if we look down at number 7, how are all of these obtuse angles alike? Well, it's the same thing. We can see that we have one ray, and we have another ray, and then we have this common endpoint, the vertex, and that's what creates this angle. Same thing here, we have two rays, and then the vertex, and that's what creates the angle. So for all of these angles, we can see that they all share two rays with a common endpoint. So each angle is made up of two rays that share a common endpoint. So it's really the same. We are writing the same thing, but that's because both acute angles, obtuse angles, right angles, they're all formed from these two rays. So for number 8, how is an obtuse angle different from a right angle? So again, if we have a right angle, an obtuse angle is going to be larger than the right angle. So this could be an obtuse angle, or this, or you could do this. So it's just any angle that is smaller than this any angle that is larger than this right angle. So for number 8, we can write each obtuse angle is larger than a right angle. So each obtuse angle is larger than a right angle. So now number 9, how is an obtuse angle different from an acute angle? If this is our obtuse angle and this is our acute angle, we know that an obtuse angle is always going to be larger than an acute angle. So any obtuse angle we make, this is always going to be larger than any acute angle. So number 9, an obtuse angle is larger than an acute angle. So once you have all that filled out, we can move on to page 276. So for page 276, we're going to work on classifying angles. So it says use the letters to name each angle, then write acute, right, or obtuse to describe each angle. So for number 10, we can see we have F, G, and H. We know that G is our vertex. It's the common endpoint. So G is our vertex. When naming an angle, the vertex always has to be in the middle. So we can name this angle 2 different ways. So we need our angle sign. We can name this F, G, H, or you could even name it H, G, F. So you can name it 2 ways. You could put the F or the H first, but this G, the vertex, that always is going to have to be in the middle. So our next question is this angle acute, right, or obtuse? So you can see that this angle, it's a pretty large angle. We know that this is going to be an obtuse angle because this ray, if it looked like this, it would be a right angle, but since it's extending further, it makes it an obtuse angle. So we can write obtuse right here. Okay, so for number 11, we have X, Y, and Z. Again, so Y is our vertex, so when we name our angle, Y, it has to be in the middle. So let's write our angle sign. So we could write X, Y, Z, or we could even write Z, Y, X. So you can write them either way you'd like as long as this Y is in the middle. So now is this one acute, right, or obtuse? You can see that this angle, it's a lot smaller than this one was. And we know that this one is going to be an acute angle because again, if this ray went up like this, it would make it a right angle. But since it only extends to this point right here, it makes this an acute angle. So we can write acute right here. Now for number 12, we have L, M, and we have N. So again, here's our vertex. So when we write our angle, let's write our angle sign. We could write L, M, N, or you could write N, M, L. And is this one acute, right, or obtuse? We can see that this is a right angle. This is going straight, it's going straight up, and this one's going to the right, but both of these are straight. They're both going straight. It's not, like here you can see that this one is on, it's kind of like turned. This one's just going straight up. So when you have these straight up angles and then one going to the side, you know it's a right angle. So we can write right. Another way of remembering right angles, like in a rectangle, you're always going to have a right angle. So rectangle, like rectangle starts with an R, and right starts with an R. So it's kind of a way to remember it. Whenever you have a rectangle, you're always going to have these right angles. Okay, so let's go on to number 13. So use the letters to name 2 acute and 2 obtuse angles in this figure. Write acute or obtuse to describe each angle. So for starters, looking for an acute angle. So if we look here, we have A, E, B. Let's look at this angle. We make our angle, we can see that it's a pretty small angle. We could check to see if it's acute or obtuse by, if we make this line up here, so this would make it, if we look like this, that would make it a right angle. We can see that it's smaller than that. So we know that that's an acute angle. This BEA is an acute angle. So we can write angle BEA is acute. Okay, let's look at AED. So let's look at this next angle. AED. You can see that this angle is a lot larger. It extends a lot further than this one did. So this one, we can see that this is going to be an obtuse angle, because if this ray went straight up, that would make it a right. We can see though that this extends even further than that. So that's going to make it an obtuse angle. So angle DEA is going to be obtuse. Okay, so now let's look at the next angle. We have DEC. So here we can see we have another pretty small angle. And here we can see that this is going to be an acute angle, right? Because we have a really little angle here. And we know that it's not going to be right because here we have this straight line, but it would have to look something like that if it was going to be a right angle. But we can see that it doesn't extend that far. It just goes to here. So it's going to be an acute angle. So angle DEC is going to be acute. So lastly, we have one more angle. So we have angle BEC. So here we can see that it's going to be a larger angle again. If we look at it like this, you can see that this would be a right angle if it looked like that. But since it extends further than that, it makes it an obtuse angle. It's a larger angle than these acute ones were. So angle BEC is obtuse. Okay, so for number 14, we're going to be drawing and labeling a right angle, an acute angle, and an obtuse angle. So for a right angle, we know we're going to have two straight lines, and then we need our arrows. And with a right angle, instead of doing like this angle sign here, we're actually going to do a little square, and that shows that it's a right angle. So this shows that it's a right angle. And then let's give this some points so we can label it. So here we can do L, M, and N. So now we have a right, let's write this right angle, and we can name it angle L, M, N, or you could do N, M, L. So now an acute angle. So we know that an acute angle is going to be smaller than this right angle. So we could do one like this, because we can see that that's smaller than the right angle. And let's draw our arrows. And then we can give this some points. So we could do X, we could do Y, we could do Z. So we have an acute angle, and we can name that X, Y, Z. Or you could do ZYX. So now for an obtuse angle, we know that it's going to be larger than both of these angles. So we could draw one like this. Let's do our arrows. Here's our vertex. And then let's give it some points. We can name this, we can do F, G, H. And you can see that this angle is a lot larger than this one. So here we have our obtuse angle. And we can name that F, G, H, or you could do angle H, G, F. So really quick, just to review, so we know that an acute angle is going to be smaller than a right angle, and an obtuse angle is going to be larger than a right angle.